Welcome, Ricky and Nehal. We are back again with another episode of Business Analytics on the Blockchain, and we have with us a distinguished guest. We have Sam Green. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, Sam, you're the co-founder and head of research at Semiotic Labs, and you helped develop the Graph protocol and launched Odos.xyz. That's a really cool name.
Thanks. Yeah, it's Odos. It's Greek for path or way.
Ah, that's cool. So, from what I understand, that's a DEX aggregator. What is a DEX aggregator?
Well, a DEX aggregator helps people make trades for cryptocurrency on chain as efficiently as possible.
Okay, so why did you focus on that part of the blockchain? What sort of drove you in that direction?
Well, a few years ago, we participated in an ETH Global hackathon. Theme of this hackathon was Hack Money 2021. And our team decided to use the graph to try to measure cross-chain arbitrage opportunities. That was a very fascinating problem. We realized to optimally measure cross-domain arbitrage required the same skill sets or the same analysis techniques as being able to do optimal trading through these complex paths. And we came up with a new trading algorithm that we then commercialized into not capturing arbitrage, but to executing orders as optimally as possible.
Nice. So if I gave ChatGPT all the information on the web that exists about you, Sam, what would it tell me about you?
So Sam Green is a researcher in AI specializing in reinforcement learning, which means low power or high speed decision making under uncertainty. He has previously worked at Sandia National Laboratories in cryptographic hardware assessment. And these days, he is a co-founder and head of research at Semiotic Labs. They specialize in autonomous decision making. Semiotic has this DEX aggregator product, and they're a core dev team in the graph specializing in AI and cryptography.
Okay, very nice. In your opinion, what are some of the most promising use cases for blockchain and AI integration?
Hmm. I see two primary use cases. The one that we're starting to spend a lot of our time on is making blockchain data more accessible. The lowest hanging fruit, in my opinion, is to use large language models as developer tools to help developers write queries more efficiently. So I need to be able to read the SQL and correct the SQL, even if I don't write it all. So I think that's our lowest hanging fruit. So what this does is it just lowers the barrier to entry for people who are curious about using blockchain data.
Very nice, very cool.
So, Sam, as someone who has worked on electronic and internet voting systems, how do you see blockchain technology transforming the way we vote and participate in democratic processes?
Yeah, this is an interesting question. So when I was researching electronic voting, which are the voting machines that are like kiosks that you've probably seen, I came to the conclusion that those things were very insecure. You look at these things, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a mess. But I think the interesting thing is that in the United States, every county gets to choose what machine they buy. The states don't even mandate a uniformity on the state. And on one hand, this is bad because the state can't audit cleanly. But on the other hand, if you want to attack a state, you have to attack every particular county because every county may use a different system. Some may use paper, some use machines. And you spread this across the entire United States, it would be almost impossible to affect an entire election. But of course, there could be strategies that you would want to target swing states if you did that. But now if we go to internet voting, the problem is if we think about, and if you're voting at home, nobody will ever know if the vote was cast by you, by someone who you gave your vote access to, And so this is a challenge. Now, this challenge then extends, of course, to the blockchain. I think what's interesting is like all of the democracy aspects of electronic voting and then internet-based voting and all the problems we have not stopped DAOs. So I think basically there is a gap right now with heavy experimenting with voting happening in blockchain. And I expect that just like in many other aspects of the experiments that are happening in crypto, I think it'll be interesting when at some point, the gap will be bridged.
That sounds pretty interesting. But if that happens, then do you think the democratic process of the US can allow such a change if what is included in DAO, something like that, is implemented in the actual system? That transparency, can the US government allow such a change?
Yes, this is to me what the most interesting aspect of voting in the United States is that the federal government has very little control how states and counties do run their process. So if a county said, if we're going to make this change, there is, I think, almost nothing that the federal government can do to prevent a county from running votes on the blockchain. There's going to be other people are going to try to make it more difficult. There's going to continuously be a push for ease of use and against ease of use for voting.
Probably the biggest threat to democracy, or at least in the top 5 in this country, I would say.
Agreed.
I'd love to maybe tie back one of these questions to some of the work you guys at Semiotic have been doing for the graph. Maybe you could touch on some of the work around autonomous agents, which I think is super interesting, all the stuff you've done there. I would really love for us to touch on some of the future synergies you see between AI innovation and basically how blockchain data can enhance those possibilities.
Yeah, cool.
Just got real.
Let's start with the automation question. We've deployed a few tools in the Graph protocol to automate decision-making on behalf of participants. The Graph protocol has complex cryptoeconomic incentives in place to make it operate as a decentralized thing. And so we require entities that nobody controls to participate such that data is served. Specifically, we've released 2 tools for indexers in the graph. So indexers are the ones that process the blockchain data and make it available for querying. And we have hundreds of indexers doing this. And they have to tune their decision making. They have to make complex decisions that have big financial impact on them. And we've released tools to help them with that so they can be more efficient and profitable. One of these tools is for pricing queries. So we have a tool called AutoAgora, and it is based on a reinforcement learning bandit algorithm. And this algorithm basically helps indexers adjust their prices dynamically so they can maximize their revenue. So indexers run our tool. This tool helps them set prices so that they can get as many queries as possible at the best price for them. Another tool that we have that indexers are using is called allocation optimizer. This is a traditional optimization problem, not what we would call like ML AI problem. And it helps indexers choose which data to index and which types of queries to serve. So this basically looks at the state of the market, looks at the state of the protocol, takes into account the incentive mechanism rules, solves an optimization problem, and then tells indexers, hey, we suggest that you serve this data. So it helps indexers increase their revenue and helps the protocol operate in the way we want it to behave. On the blockchain data question, so our core goal is to make the graphs data easily accessible using natural language. One of the projects that I'm interested in is Geo. Geo is a spin-out product, EdgeNode, who are the founders of the graph. And Geo is basically building communities that can achieve consensus on a variety of topics in the real world, not blockchain data. It's a product built on crypto. And so I think of it currently as Wikipedia, except it's going to support plurality of views, whereas Wikipedia only pushes up to the top a single viewpoint. But all of the data is going to be pinned to the blockchain. And so in the future, I could see in the graph, for example, it could be a natural language query, and that data could then be interacting with a large language model where the context comes from Geo about some of these viewpoints, and then these Q&A could be done on this data in natural language. The final thing is how these language models can be used in blockchain. I think similarly for governance of these complex distributed protocols, that we have some low-hanging fruit for us to increase our efficiency for humans.
Very cool.
Any career advice that Sam would have for anyone just starting out in the fields of like blockchain or AI?
So my advice is to experiment, like find something that's interesting and do meaningful experiments. Dig deeper, push it to GitHub, comment what you did, make it nice, polish it. This has such a big impact on interviewers when they're looking at your resume and they see that not only did you go to school, not only have you worked, but like you're doing stuff on your own and it looks good, like you're taking it to like another level. That little bit more, showing curiosity, taking it a little bit further, it's asymmetric in the impact it's going to have on your career.
You just described Ricky for me.
Yes, I know Ricky does this.
So, well, Sam, I want to thank you on behalf of the group and everyone who listens. This was really a treat. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Sam, for coming here today and joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
We really learned a lot, I think.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. That was a lot of fun. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.